January 4th, 2024. I'm bringing you a Lake of the Ozarks fishing report brought to you by James and Denise Dill Guide Service down here on Lake of the Ozarks. We're trying to keep you up to date to what's going on down here at the lake conditions, water conditions, current fish, the bite, just everything what's going on down here at the lake. Try to make us a resource for anything you need down here at the lake. So real quick, we'll get into the lake conditions. Believe it or not, the lake has come up. They announced last week or so they were going to start the winter drawdown, and the lake came up a foot. So it is 658.20 right now. So it's about not quite 2 foot low, maybe pretty close to almost 2 foot low right now. But I expect they will start the winter drawdown. I think they may have brought it up just a little bit. At least you want to think so people could get their boats off the lifts and maybe get them winterized or put away in the shops or what have you before they do start the winter drawdown, which the last I heard they're saying 654. So that's 6 foot low. That's pretty low. As far as there's a lot of docks, a lot of areas. If you own one, you know which ones they are. That once they drop that low, your boat's going to sit on the lift until they bring it back up. So water conditions, water color. Denise and I were talking. We've been out several times this last week and a half, 2 weeks, and there's different areas of the lake that are clear. I would say clear, and then you go through a stretch, it might be 5-6 miles long. It's kind of stained, a little different color, and then you get back into clear water again. So there's different sections of the lake that have different colors, and that's probably because of, we did have some rain, a week or so ago. It may have brought in some little stained water. I think they're letting some water out of Truman. You get that big surge of water, and that'll change the water color as it comes down that river, maybe stirring up some sediment or just the water coming out of Truman or whatever. But there's different areas of the lake that are clear than others, and it's not necessarily, my whole point is, it's not necessarily all down lake, say from, the toll bridge to the dam or up the Gravois a little bit that's clear. There's areas, up towards Lynn Creek, up in the Nangwas just a little bit, even up towards Hurricane Deck, that's fairly clear right now, got a really good color. So, that's always good to know, when you're going to head out or where you choose to maybe go start, the search for some wintertime bass, and kind of depend on what you want to do. Did I say water temp? Water temp has been from, you get way up in the river arms. It doesn't matter what river arm. You're getting 42 to 44. I would say main lake stuff. It's what we have yesterday, 46 and a half, almost 47 degrees. And we were fishing 20 mile marker to 25 mile marker yesterday, that kind of area. The day before we were down, actually we were up a little further whatever day that was, up around all the way up to Bollinger area, I guess. And it was, what was it up there? 44, 45, another day we were down by, closer to the Gravois, and it was 46. So, we're into the first week of January. It's 46 degrees. We'll just say an average of 45. So when your water temp's 45, there's a lot of things that are still working. By now, normally we're down in the low 40s. We're sticking with stick baits, small finesse jigs, swamp bugs, what else? Little swim baits, but with that water still hovering around 45, 46, obviously other baits are still working. Kind of the odd out baits. big spinnerbait, big willow leaf, Colorado, you know, white, call that mouse color, a little bit of chartreuse on it. Spinnerbait's still working a little bit. You know, if you want to, I would think spinnerbait right now, if you wanted to stick with it all day, you could probably catch 5. You might, you know, they're probably going to be better quality fish if that's what you're after. You know, the fish are pretty shallow. What we're catching, shallow brush, shallow docks, alongside docks, stuff like that. Transition rocks. You know, same type of stuff we're targeting with all of our baits. But you know, like your spinnerbait, you can probably still catch them on spinnerbait. I know we can catch them on crankbait because we did it the other day, like a rock crawler, some wigglewarts, maybe some square bills, you know, just in your crawfish colors. Something with a little red on it seems to be highly productive right now. You know, the crankbaits, you know, I'm throwing that on 12-pound test, pretty standard, 12-pound fluorocarbon. I've got this Daiwa Tatula cranking reel that I bought. I probably bought that last year, I guess. I've got 2 of them now. I really like that reel. It's a 5-to-1 crankbait reel. Works really good, and it's set up on a Falcon cranking rod Cara. You know, the spinnerbait, nothing crazy with spinnerbait. It's just a medium heavy rod Falcon. This is a low rider. This is my other Tatula Daiwa Tatula rod reel, and it's 7-to-1 gear ratio, kind of a mid-range. I'm throwing it on 17-pound fluorocarbon. You know, that's your kind of standard setup for that. You know, now other baits that we're throwing. Denise, you can tell them a little bit about stick bait. Denise has been kind of throwing stick bait a little bit more, and I've been trying to concentrate on bottom. So, what's this color stick bait you're throwing here? We'll just pull up one of my rods here.
Yeah, we've been a new color, I believe, out last year. Mega Bass has a spawn cherry color, so it's a pearl with it has a pink hue to it, has great flash. This one in particular is the Junior, which I can't get undone from. Yes, this has the Junior, which is smaller and also smaller from your normal 110s, but then we also have your bigger bill, which gives you that deeper presentation. So your spawn cherries, a color I've been throwing a lot. You've also got your Edo Natural is another good color.
Like this one here, this is your standard Vision 110, Mega Bass Vision 110. Probably goes, 5 to 7 foot of water compared to that, what do you call it, the Junior?
The Junior Plus One.
The Junior Plus One is kind of a new model they come out with, what's it, last year maybe?
I believe so.
It may have been out 2 years, but anyway, we started using that a little bit, and it gets down a little deeper, maybe from 6 to 9, depending on line size.
And it's also a great crappie.
Yeah.
Crappie bait that you can, if you see, able to target some that you might see schooling, and it just kind of gives you that depth, a little bit more depth.
Little bit deeper depth. If you want to get down closer to the fish, whether it be bass or crappie, it's a smaller profile. It tends to get a few more bites. She's been throwing that the last few days. Obviously, we're concentrating on, I'm gonna say late fall banks, early winter. As we're getting into winter banks, we're trying to intercept these fish where they're headed, and they're headed off of late fall stuff into your winter banks, which are your little steeper banks where the fish can obviously just go up and down in the water column to whatever suits them for their stability, water, comfort, whatever it is, So when I say that, it's mainly channel banks, creek channel banks, or steeper banks not necessarily creek channels, but more a steeper bank with little larger rock transitioning to either in a corner of a pocket or maybe softball size to basketball size, bigger rock. Other banks that been really target them in the winter too, are these shelf rocks. It's shelfy, hard shelf rock transition to some sort of a rock boulder style. They really seem to like those real hard, solid bottoms when we get, I'm gonna say, a pretty severe weather change, we're probably going to get next week. It looks like they're calling for, down in the teens for a few nights, and that's really going to kind of shock that water, and it's going to bring it from that 46. You're going to see a lot of it locked down into 42 degrees, and it'll get to 42, and then it's going to sit there for a while because you're going to have some sunny days, little warmer days, and then it's going to drop down at night. And it seems like it drops like in sequence. It gets so far and it holds there for a while, and it drops and holds there. So I expect next week to get us into that 42, that locked in 42 to 44. And then a lot of these fish that we're still catching towards the backs are probably going to pull out of them flats along with the shad. Obviously we see a lot of shad back there. So them bass are going to hang with them shad as long as they can. I don't really think that water temp has as much to do with it, obviously, as the food and the food source. Wherever that food's at, that's where the bass are going to be. So,
one thing on with that water temp being up a little higher right now, your retrieve can be a little more. You can work it faster, and
as far as the temperature.
As far as the temperature being up, you can vary your retrieve, and that seems to be working right now. Of course, as that water temp lowers, that's when you're going to have to let it sit a little bit longer. But the flash of these baits is just they can hardly.
Right. I mean, that's to be able to move it faster. Obviously, you can cover a little more water and increase your odds. If you can move fast, you're increasing your odds of getting in front of something. So basically, like the last few days, she's been working it fairly quick, so she can make a lot more casts, cover a lot more water, and get these fish to react. We're watching them on the live scope a lot of times with the jerk baits, trying to locate brush piles and see if these fish how they're relating to brush piles or these little subtle drops. When I say subtle drop, we're talking 4 or 5 foot of water, and they drop off into 12, 15 foot of water. That little subtle drop, a lot of times some fish will hang on those little breaks and little ledges, and you can work your stick bait over the top of them and hold it there right at that break, and you'll be able to see pretty quick how aggressive these fish are. If they come up off of that, they'll travel 5, 6, 8 foot to hit a stick bait, or if you got to slow it down and really entice them and let them creep up a little, and then you give a little twitch and they'll come up and hit it. So that's the kind of stick bait. What was that? So that was spawn cherry.
Spawn cherry.
The other one we're throwing is Wakasaki. Edo Natural is another really good one. There's a couple others here. If it's real cloudy, or if you do get in some dirtier water, this one here's kind of got a purple back, got a chartreuse bottom. I like that one. This gold with the black back. I really like it when it's real cloudy, a little dirtier water. I don't know what it is about it, but it definitely seems to maybe draw a few more bites, when it's like that. This other one, this is that 6 Cents. They make one. What's it called?
It looks like a Pro Blue, but it's
no, the model.
I don't know.
What's it called? Evoke or Vote?
Could be.
Anyway, it's a 6 Cents bait. Don't necessarily pay attention to the model as I do the looks a lot of time. So this is going to run real similar to your Vision 110s. It's just kind of a Pro Blue, got that orange bottom, but it's got like a translucent flash on the sides here. And when it's real sunny, boy, that one will let off and send off a lot of flash They've got real good hooks on it. That 6 cents has some good hooks on it. It's got a little better bill, a little more durable bill than your 110s. So when these fish are right off of the bank, you're throwing them to the bank, pulling it in, say 2 foot and stopping it, and then twitching it from there. I like to throw these a little more, or even the old school, Smithwick Rogues. You know, they still work really good. I throw these a lot when these fish are right up on the bank, and I know I'm going to throw close to the bank and maybe even hit the rocks. Because if you're a steeper bank, you want to throw right on those rocks. Just pull that thing in about a foot and let it sit there, and then twitch it. A lot of these fish are still shallow, still relating to the bank, and they'll come up and hit them baits. Compared to like if you're throwing a 110, you know, and you hit them rocks, you're probably going to break a bill. You broke one yesterday.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much to break those bills. So
my bait wasn't even in the water. It was on the way to the water, but I hit it with the.
Yeah, hit the motor.
I hit the motor.
Hit the motor.
Kind of hit it, did a sidearm cast and hit it on the motor. So that's always fun.
But you know, so you know, obviously other baits. You know, I'm gonna go to the jig. If I can catch them on a jig, I'm gonna catch them. I'm gonna throw the jig. You know, she was throwing the stick baits behind me. What was it? Well, I kind of lost track of days, but a few days ago, boy, she caught them. She caught a lot more fish than I caught with the stick bait. I couldn't get a bite on the bottom. Now it was a little breezier today. It was more conditions for stick bait bite, you know. And then when we either got out of the wind or a little calmer conditions, it seemed like I started getting bites on the jig or swamp bug, which is kind of your textbook normal type of stuff. You know, if we're fishing points, secondary points, or a distinct point, whether it be bluff ends. Right now we're kind of starting on bluff ends, bluff points, where you got your main river channel and it comes up out of that channel and you get up on a flat, you know. We're kind of working those, and we'll kind of jump to the secondaries. We might go in a little ways off of the points. And then we're kind of relating more to so creek style stuff, you know. And I say creek, bigger creeks. These creeks are, you know, at least, I don't know, a mile long at minimum, you know, maybe 3/4 of a mile. A good distinct channel runs through that creek. You know, it creates points, it creates channel banks, and then breaks in and away from it. You know, we'll concentrate on those banks, kind of working back towards the back. You know, if we don't, obviously if you can catch them out, you don't have to spend the time going back in there. You know, if it's you know, just if you're seeing bait balls, you know, bait shad, that's kind of the key right now. It's just your normal winter style. If you're looking where to start, or kind of increasing your odds, if you can fish around them shad, you're always going to be better off, because there's always going to be a concentration of fish following the food. It's just the food chain, you know. When we're getting into these channel banks, like these creek channels, steeper banks, you know, like I said, I'm reaching for my old faithful. It's just a 3/8 ounce zapper, Crack Gator zapper jig, Ozark crawl color, and I'm pairing it up with just a simple little Crack Gator ring crawl. I like the green pumpkin red flake, straight green pumpkin candy. That's kind of my go-to, you know. A lot of it's just mental. I've got a lot of confidence in this, because I've done really well with just this simple setup. I'm throwing it on a Falcon Cara Finesse jig rod, so it's built for that jig. I throw it on 10 or 12 pound fluorocarbon, and it's paired up with the Lew's Hyper Mag reel 8-to-1. I like this setup because it's extremely light, and it's very sensitive. When you're fishing these finesse style baits, whether it be a jig, this one, I don't care what jig it is, or whether it be a Ned rig, it's really critical to have the right setup when it comes to a bottom bait, especially in the winter time.
Definitely.
You know, when they're hitting these baits as they're falling, like in September, and they're crushing it, they're hitting it, and they're taking off, not as critical as now. Wintertime, you've got to have the right setup. And I don't care if it's a, you know, St. Croix, a Virtus, a Falcon, whatever, all these, you know, there's a lot of good rods out there. Just get the right setup for what you're fishing when it comes to jigs or bottom baits. You know, the lighter the setup, the more sensitive it is, the more you're going to feel these bites. You know, the bites right now are getting to where you're really not a bite, and they might pick the bait up and not even move with it. You just feel resistance. You just kind of want to work that bait, obviously not too hard, not too aggressive, not too fast. Don't move it, retrieve it as much as just kind of vibrate it, shake it in place, move it just a little bit, let them fish come over and find it. They know that bait's there. They know something's there. They're going to come over and investigate it, and they might just suck it in and sit there and hold it. So when you're moving it, you feel a little bit of resistance. You can give them a little lift on it. A lot of times they might spit it out, but a lot of times you'll feel just a little nudge. That's all you're going to get in the wintertime, and then, you know, set the hook. If you're not sure, set the hook, you know, obviously.
I do believe your trailer this time of year does make a big difference. If they're picking up your trailer and you're like, I know I'm getting bites, and I've done it with Jim, and he's throwing that little smaller trailer, and I've got a bigger trailer that's got flappy, you know, and they're picking that up. I'm like going, what's going on? So I think you're really make sure this time, you know, your winter months.
You're more finesse-y.
Yes.
And she's right, you know, something like this Strike King Menace, you know, or just a single tail grub style, something that has a lot of movement, will definitely get their attention. But they'll come over and sometimes they'll pick that up, and they'll pick that trailer up, and I think they're picking that up and they're swimming out with it, you know, and they don't have the hook in their mouth. So, you know, what she's saying is these finesse jigs, that's why a finesse jig is so critical in the winter. It's a small profile, small bait, small jig. When they pick that up, they don't have any choice. That hook's in their mouth. So when they pick that up to swim off with it, and you feel that resistance, you set the hook's in their mouth compared to maybe just
some of that plastic.
The trailer. So if you're out there and you're fishing a jig and you're getting a lot of bites, and you know they're bites and you're not catching them, shrink that trailer down, maybe even the ring crawl, cut it down a little bit, scoot that back end up close to that bend of that hook, and it's going to really increase your hookup ratio. I think that's why the Ned rig, I don't have one rigged up here, but that Ned rig in the wintertime, it can be really good because it's so small, and when they suck that little, you know, the bait's only what, 1 3/4 inches, maybe 2 inches long. When they suck that up, the whole thing's in their mouth. So I think that's kind of what makes that little Ned rig, you know, so effective when the bite gets pretty subtle. We're not, I'm going to say quite there yet. I mean, yesterday some of them bites were pretty subtle. They're still, you can feel them peck it, and they'll move with it. They're pretty aggressive, but as that water drops down in the upper 30s, low 40s, then that bite gets really subtle. You know, I don't know as far as other baits. Obviously, the Alabama rig, it's working right now. I've got this one here I like. There's several different brands. There's a lot of them you can't even tell the difference of the brand anymore because so many of them are so similar. But you can see I've got my 2 dummies up here on top. I've got my 3 with our hooks in Missouri. I like to put 4 the same color. These are just a shad, kind of a I'd call them kind of an Aurora style, Aurora color. It's kind of a dark back, light bottoms, and you can see that middle, that center. I've got a little chartreuse on it. Same baits, but they're either, I chartreuse them up with a die or that pencil, or you can even buy them like that. And I put that on the center one that hangs out a little behind. The rest of them, I want them to hone in on that one because that's the one with my hook, you know. So that's how I set them up. Some guys, you know, like to put them all the same. Some, like I said, the bigger one in the middle. Right now, it seems like some of these Alabama rig, if you want to rig them up with those small 2.8, 3.5s, them little Kitex. I mean, there's several different break. Reaction Innovation makes them. Who else makes them? Strike King makes them. Just everybody makes a swim bait right now. Zoom makes one. They're different vibration, different color, different action. The tail's slightly different. You know, most of them are pretty close to the same. Switch that up if you're not getting bites on the A-Rig. One thing about the A-Rig I will say is here lately has been catching a little bit better size, which is no surprise because a lot of these fish are out there suspended. And a lot of them are laying flat on the bottom, these bigger fish. You can't even see them. You see the balls of shad, big balls of shad, and you'll see fish crashing into them shad, biting, you know, or feeding on them shad. And you'll throw that A-Rig, throw it out, let it sink down to the bottom and start on that bottom. As you're creeping it off of that bottom towards that ball of shad, if you're watching on your live scope, you'll see the big shadow. You'll see the fish come directly off of the bottom and hit that A-Rig. So a lot of them are laying under them shad. They're following those shad. I guess they just creep along the bottom when they're ready. They come up and get them a mouthful of shad. So obviously that A-Rig, it's really productive this time of year. Before that water temp drops down into the 30s, it seems like it loses its effectiveness then because it obviously is moving bait and some of these fish aren't that aggressive. You know, you're fishing them around same place you'd fish the stick baits or swim baits, small swim baits, like the little 3-inch Kitech, 4-inch Kitech, even the little crappie one we use, that little 3-inch easy shiner. Man, we catch a ton of bass on that fishing for crappie. If you're having tough time getting bites, bass bites, that little easy shiner on that little 6-pound crappie rod, man, it's really effective just to get bites, especially bass. You know, I mean, just throwing straight to the bank and just easily, slowly retrieving it back. I mean, you caught several the other day. I think you were crappie fishing. And caught several. You know, you catch a lot of Kentuckies, a lot of 13, 14 and a half, 15-inch Kentuckies on that little thing, which sometimes they'll go a long ways, you know. Here recently, 12 pounds is, you know, it's not great, but it's not bad either. It beats 9 pounds. You know, I mean, you get yourself at 12 pounds, you're just one fish away from having a decent bag on any of these tournaments in midwinter. You know, it usually takes, I don't know, 15 to 18 pounds to win right now. If the Alabama rig's allowed, you'll see, I'll say 16 to 20 pounds. If it's not allowed, you'll see 14 to 17 will win these tournaments. So if you want to gauge where you're at as far as, you know, if you're going out pre-fishing or you just want to know how you're stacking up against what everyone else is doing, I'm going to say right now 10 to 13 is average. 13's getting the upper part of that average. 13 to 16 is a good solid day. You get above 16, that's a really good day right now. So, you know, on any day throughout the winter, I'd say that pretty much covers your spectrum of weights, what to expect, where you're gonna, how you're compared to everyone else. I would say, at least what we're seeing. You know, when I talk to other people, whether it be other guys or other fishermen, that's about what they're saying too. You know, you're catching 10, 12 and a half, but if you can catch that 5 and a half, and that now you go from 11 and a half to 12 and a half to 15, and you catch you another big one, now you're way up there with a good solid bag. So, what else do you think as far as?
I think I do think that sickle hook is important. That sickle hook on our crappie setup.
Yeah, just a real good, a little bigger hook. We like throwing a little bigger hook. There's different, and that screw lock, the screw lock style. It's got a coil spring. I don't care if it's this bait, swim bait, or a bigger one. Try to find you some of these screw lock, or not screw lock. Yeah, they are called screw lock, where your bait screws up on the head, and it will hold them soft plaxes a lot better. You'll get several fish out of it. Whether it be these little 3-inch or even some of your 4-inch swim baits, definitely throw something with that screw lock on it. That pretty much kind of covers what we're doing right now. It's probably what we're going to be doing for the next months. Obviously we're going to start on points. We're going to relate to channel swings, steeper banks. We're going to vary our in pockets, and even in the winter, some of these fish, these bigger females, they start searching. They're looking. I know it's early, nowhere near the spawn, but they will relate to some on certain days for whatever reason, and it may be a moon phase. They'll go venture into some of these pea gravel mix little pockets on back, some of these flats. They'll go back in there and they'll sun a little bit. Cooking eggs, sunning their eggs. They'll go back there on certain days and they'll just suspend out there. And it might be 6 foot of water, 4 foot of water, and they'll just kind of suspend out there. So if you're not getting bites, switch it up. And stick bait colors. If you don't get a bite within an hour, hitting say 3 of the similar style banks, whether it be a point, a channel swing, a channel bank, a steep bank. If you don't get a bite within an hour, start by just changing your color. Change, and I'd make a pretty drastic color. I'd go from something flashy to something maybe darker color, gold color. Just switch it up a little bit. Sometimes the deeper diver ones, you can throw right up on the bank and jerk it down and reel it enough to where you start feeling it hit them rocks. A lot of times that's what it takes. Instead of being up in that water column, kind of disturbing them rocks, hitting them rocks a little bit, that'll get that fish to come up and grab it. So it might be something else you try. This time of year you can go hours without a bite, and then you can find a bank or a point or whatever that there's a big school of shad or a school of bass. They're obviously the wintertime they school up. A lot of them do the same thing. So if you can find a school, slow down. If you find a fish, especially if you find a keeper or two, I'd slow down and fish that pretty thorough, and I'd fish it with several different baits. You might go down it with stick bait, and then turn around and come back with a jig, and then go back down it with a swamp bug, and then switch back up to a stick bait, a different color. I'd work that bank pretty thorough, because there's a reason there's a fish on that bank. The other day we fished, we caught several shorts, a lot of them. I mean, like more fish than we've been catching. And then we kind of ventured off backed off of that. I started throwing the swamp bug, and I caught 2 nice 3.5, one pushing 4, and they were within 50 foot of each other. So, obviously that tells us something's going on that bank. Obviously that's a bank we will be hitting it really pretty thorough.
Does the order matter as far as are you going to finesse first, then go with your more aggressive baits?
I mean, that's a good point. Obviously, if we can go down a bank with a stick bait and work it fairly quick, and we're getting bites and good solid bites, something quicker is better. You're covering more water, increasing your odds. If you're just not getting bites, I've got more confidence in my Finesse jig and my swamp bug than anything. So I'm probably gonna go directly to that. Obviously that's slow. It takes a lot of time. If you're not getting bites, you're burning up the day. So obviously there's 2 of you in the boat. Somebody needs to throw a stick bait.
Right.
Maybe a crankbait right now. Obviously a crankbait, a stick bait. You know, for another week or 2, big spinner bait, something moving, you know.
Right.
And someone else throwing that finesse bait, the jigs of some sort, and see who's getting the bites. And then not just bites, but quality bites, you know, is what you're looking for. You know, other than that, man, that's about it for winter right now. We do want to say, you know, about the Collinsville Sports Show. That's this weekend. That starts Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Collinsville Show, Collinsville, Illinois, is probably
Let's Go Fishing.
the Let's Go Fishing Show is probably the best. If not, it ranks way up there as far as fishing shows of the year. It's a kickoff, a sports show. I know a lot of vendors are going to be there. I know Crappie is going to be there. We're going to be up there tomorrow. Friday, Denise and I are going to speak at 1 o'clock at the Collinsville show. We'll be up there on behalf of Tri-State Trolling Motor, Crappie Gator, AFCO, Garmin, obviously, our wholesale batteries, all the quality products that we use to keep us on the water. And these are all products that some of them, you know, we get compensated for, some we don't. But these are all products that we use and we've used for many years. And we stick with them because of the backing of the company, the quality company, and then obviously the products. You know, Denise and I were talking earlier today about how mental demanding fishing is, whether it be your comfort. You know, number one, like in the wintertime, obviously it's comfort. You've got to be comfortable out there. If you're out there and it's 35 degrees and you're cold, you're probably not, you're not going to catch fish unless they're just crazy biting, because you're not concentrating on your baits and you're not working it properly. You're not getting into tune. When you caught that fish or you got a bite, what were you doing? How were you working it? Because it's so critical to repeat what you were doing when you caught a fish in the winter. Because
more than any time.
More than any time of the year,
Yeah.
because you've got to be, you're going so much slower, you can't afford to waste time by working your baits improper or not the right speed or cadence or the feel, whatever. So, I mean, obviously you've got to be comfortable out there, you know, mentally wise, clothing wise, whether it be these reapers by AFCO. You know, obviously we wear these. I've got every one they make. You know, when you run down the lake, you can pull this little collar part up. It protects your face, your ears. You know, that's huge. You get to where you're going to fish, you pull it down.
It does have those little holes here for
Breathing out of, I guess.
and it doesn't fog up your
Yeah, it allows your
glasses.
respiration to go out through that instead of up to your glasses if you're wearing glasses. You know, it's got good hoods on it. You know, I got a pile of gloves over here. I've been going through my gloves. I've got different gloves that I use. I like this whatever you want to call it, little pouch. I'll put 2 or 3 pair of gloves in there. I'll wear a pair. Like if we run down the lake, I got the AFCO Hydronaut. These gloves here, they're windproof, they're waterproof. They've got the little deal to wipe your grafts off when they freeze up, get a little frost on it.
Yeah.
You know, instead of reaching up and smear it, you can, just like a windshield wiper. You know, that's pretty creative there. It's got a cinch up here. These are my running gloves. Obviously, when I get there, you know, you can't feel real good as far as working baits. But once I get there, I take these off and I switch them out with a smaller pair that I can feel. You know, they're still blocking the wind. They're snug on my fingers so I can feel everything that's going on. Stay comfortable. You know, same thing. Denise likes to use these
Yeah, buy these by the value packs, your Hot Hands value pack. One of the features I really like about it, I use these not just for my toes. These are toe warmers. What they have is the adhesive. They have an adhesive on the back side. So you can use this, you know, literally attach this to your gloves on the inside and have that be right on top of your...
Keeps them from sliding around, moving out
Sure.
of place. You know,
They're
we were talking,
easier
you
to
put
put
them on
on.
top of your hands where, you know, your blood flow is through the top of your hands. That's going to help the extremities of your fingers stay warm and your feel, you know. So since the same thing, you know, you can put these, you can put them anywhere with them adhesive. You can put them on your brachial arteries here inside. You can put them on your femoral artery down here. I mean, on your back, the back of your neck. I mean, they're really can be kind of a difference in a good day.
Yeah.
Or getting cold day. You obviously you don't want to be cold out there. So the whole deal is, you know, we spend a fortune on everything. I think probably the best money spent is on good quality apparel and winter gear,
definitely.
just to make your day tolerable and enjoyable out there. And you know it, whether it be hunting, fishing, outdoor sporting events. If you're not warm and you ain't got the right gear, you're not having a good time. So it's all about having a good time.
Right.
Get the right stuff for that. You know.
One other thing, I do
Yeah.
take the adhesive off and I put it on top of my socks, so that if it's in my boots or if it's in my tennis shoe, whatever it might be, I have this adhesive to my sock on top, not on bottom. I don't necessarily want
Well,
that
your bottoms
of
is
the
calloused
bottom of
up.
my- yeah,
You know, same
my
with your
feet.
hands. You got it up there where your blood's flowing.
Right.
You know, if your blood flows through it or under it, it's going to work a lot better.
Yeah.
So, boy,
Heated vest.
yeah.
I want to
heated
tell.
vest.
I am a big. This time of year, it can be a struggle if you are not prepared with the right gear. And I will tell you, the heated vest. I live in this thing. It is. You can Amazon heated vest. The coats aren't necessary because your coats don't warm your arms, but you're talking about your core, your front, your back. I would recommend to get yourself a good fitted heated vest, and make sure when you order one that you get one that comes with a battery. And then also I'd get yourself an extra battery, just because halfway through the day you can put your replacement battery in and you're still going to be
Yeah,
in
they
your
say
core.
they claim they'll last 6-8 hours, but they don't. They only last
Four
4.
probably.
4, and
in
it
a
depends
good-
on the setting
Sure, you know.
you have. So if you
and
got a
I've got
spare,
it on.
obviously,
I've got it on high,
You know,
so.
whatever.
Yeah.
Another thing, real quick, on the crappie fishing is just really good right now. It just remains good through most of the winter time. You know, for crappie, we're throwing a little swim bait. We've dropped down to a 16th ounce head with the Easy Shiner little Kitech. Probably it's probably the best little swim bait for crappie. I mean, otherwise, if you're shooting docks or vertical, you know, that bait doesn't work as good as just a straight tail. You know, there's hundreds of different straight tail crappie jigs out there. Just something natural color, blue ice, which is white with a blue back. And then you got like a pink chartreuse that works real good.
Electric chicken.
Electric
Is
chicken.
that one.
Black and chartreuse, just kind of switch up. It's the same with bass. You can catch so many crappie and then they kind of quit biting. Just switch colors up and you'll get a lot more bite. Another bait, obviously, these little jerk baits, we're killing them on jerk baits right now. This is that little Pointer 78 by Lucky Craft. This is clown color. This one goes down about, I don't know, 4 or 5 foot of water. A lot of times these crappie will come up. You can catch them. Then you've got the other one. This is Aurora Black. This is that Pointer 78, but the deeper diver. This one will go down 8-10 foot of water, and it's still small enough that the crappie just eat these things up. And throw that on 6 or 8 pound test, and just all these big schools of shad or a crappie you'll see them out in the middle, just out in the middle of these creeks, middle of cuts, middle of pockets. You just scan around with your live scope and you'll see them out there, and you just throw past them, work that bait down and get close, and they'll tear out at them schools, and they'll bust some crappie, and them are your bigger crappie. One thing I have noticed, I want to make a point of saying this year, for whatever reason, I think it's maybe the lack of current, I don't know, but there are ginormous schools of bluegill, and they're all around these docks. And if you use live scope for a while, whether it be live scope or whatever the other brands are, I'm not familiar with what your image looks like, but I do know on a live scope it doesn't take long. You can start distinguishing the difference of what the fish look like and what they are. The bluegill, they put out a pretty good image, but their edges are broken, almost like I don't know how to explain it, almost like a cotton ball, like kind of broken edges, compared to crappie or slashes, like your thumbnail. They're distinct slashes, and you can tell, and they'll get around the same docks. A lot of these docks, underneath them docks, you can see them around the braces, the front braces. Cables are huge right now. Cables and chains on these. We stayed on one wave break yesterday. I like the ones with the chains, because your baits won't you can bring them, bump them chains, and it won't hook it like your cables. You'll hang up on them cables. But if you look and you see them, usually the cable or the chain, they go straight down for about 4 foot, and then they turn and they go out to that big weight. And somewhere along that chain or that cable, there's crappie. And they were on almost every chain. And we played with one wave break yesterday for about an hour. And I don't know how many crappie we caught just playing with them. So that's an easy place to catch crappie right now. I think there's a couple wave breaks on this lake. So anywhere, find your wave break. No wake buoys. No wake buoys in the wintertime get really good. It's an isolated piece of cover out in the middle. It's got your float, and then the cable goes straight down. Just throw past that cable, or the cable that anchors that no wake buoy. Let it sink down, just bury it, and come by there. If you don't have live scope, just bury your retrieve, your drop, and bring it through there. Get right alongside one, drop it to the bottom, and just reel it up real slow until you find where they're at. Those are a couple really easy ways to crappie fish. They seem like most of them hold, the no wake buoys. Some do, some don't. But I figured that out a couple years ago. I was surprised how many fish hold and suspend on a no wake cable, on a no wake buoy. The wave breaks, they do a lot of different stuff. They protect wind. You might catch them on the windy side, you might catch them on the slack side, whatever, just bury it. So, other than that, we'll get off of here. Nothing we'd like more than for you to come visit, or come look us up, or come see us at the Collinsville Let's Go Fishing Show. That's this weekend. Denise and I are going to be there Friday. We speak at 1 o'clock, but we'll be hanging out all day. So come find us, talk to us. We'd love to talk to you about wintertime fishing, about boats, about gear, about rods, reels, tackle, baits, line, tying knots, you name it. We'll talk about it. We like to talk about fishing. We like to talk to people. If you watch these videos and you like them, you got some input, we'd love to hear that. Whatever, just come out to Let's Go Fishing Show, and we'll hopefully see you over there. If not, we'll do another report here.